Welcome to another series. In this series, we will do some analysis that how we can attempt the past papers within a given time period, year by year. So we are going to start this series from 2022, and we have select one of the paper from 2022 May June. So things you need to remember is that we have 1 hour and 30 minutes for our paper number one, and we all know that we have two sections in paper number one, section A and section B. In section A, we have to attempt all the questions, and in section B, we have the choice. Either we can choose either question number 4 or question number 5, right? So we will talk about question by question, that how much time we need to give to each questions and how we can attempt in a quick way. So don't skip this video and watch till the end to get better understanding that how you can attempt paper in a better way. So in this video, we will only talk about section A, as we all know that we have to attempt all the questions from section A. And section A, we have three questions, right? Question number 1, 4 marks. Question number 2, we have two parts, part A and part B. Part A contain 8 marks and part B contain 6 marks. While question number 3, we have again two parts, part A and part B. Part A having 10 marks and part B having 6 marks, right? So if you see one of the questions that describe two example of social norms, for example, greetings, and number 2 could be dress code, right? So we have to explain them in just 2 lines. So if you see the format of the questions, we have 1 marks for the identification of the norms, and then 1 marks to explain them, right? And 1 marks for another identification and 1 mark for another explanation. Now you can see that we can get 4 marks. So for that question, no need to give more than 5 minutes. So here you can spend approximately 5 minutes. Now if you move on to question number 2, and question number 2 we have that explain 2 ways sociological research may be affected by bias, right? So in this question, we have to provide 2 ways, right? 2 ways. It could be like you can give the heading for bias 1. You might mentions about personal values of the sociologist. So you might say personal values of sociologist, right? And bias 2 can be, you might write it about the effect of researcher on respondent. Effect of researcher on respondents, right? So in this question, what you have to do, 1 marks you will get for this identification, and then 1 mark you might get to explain this point, right? So 1 mark you might get to explain this point, 1 mark you will get to use the sociological material, and 1 mark you will get to for supporting the point. So this is how you can get the 4 marks. And for 8 marks question, no need to spend 10 minutes, right? So this is something you have to keep in mind. Now if you come on to section B, in section B we have explained 1 strength and 1 limitation of the unstructured interview as a research method, right? Again, we have to talk about 2 of the points. So in point number 1, you might talk about uh, the flexibility, let's say, because we are talking about the unstructured questions. So B point, you might talk about flexibility as the strength. So in this point, 1 mark you will get by identification, and then 1 mark once you will explain them in detail, right? And 1 mark you might get to give more in-depth explanation. So this is how you can get 1 mark and 1 mark. And once we will talk about its weakness, so for the weakness you might say that this is time consuming, right? So again, time consuming, you might get 1. Explain them with simple language, again you might get 1. And then once you explain them in depth, in detail, again you would might get 1 marks again. So here you can get 3 marks, and here again you get 3 marks. So for all these points you might get 6 points. So remember that no need to spend more than 7 to 8 minutes on this question. Now if you see what we mention over here, for 1 marks we spend 5 minutes. For the next question to party we spend 2 minutes, 10 minutes, and for the third one we spend 7 to 8 minutes. So if you see, let's say we spending 8 minutes, so 5, 10, and 8, right now we are at 23 minutes. Right now if you come on to question number 3, and question number 3 we again have two parts. Part A we have the 10 marks, and part B we have the 6 marks, right? So for A, explain this view, and the view is that family is the main influence on gender equality. So for that, if you wanted to get 8 or 10 marks, what you have to do, you have to provide two clear and developed point, right? Two clear and developed points, to clear and develop point with a good use of the concept, with good use of concepts and theory, right? This is how you can get 8 or 10 marks, right? So for point number 1, for point 1, what you can do, you might talk about role within the family, let's say. And for explaining this one you might get 4 marks. And then second could be that how children learn their gender role by observing their parents. Okay, so children learning, so you might get 2 marks, right? For the, and again for point number 2 you might talk about the different treatment, right? So this is the role within the family, and point 2 you might talk about the different treatment, right? So different treatment, so here again different treatment you might get 4 marks. And reinforcing the gender norms, again you would get 2 marks, right? So more or less you might get 8 or 10 marks by explaining them through this way, and no need to spend more than 15 minutes on this question. Now you might think that we have attempted 12 marks paper, right? But as I mentioned that you might get 8 or 10 marks from this question. This is my way. I prepared my students to at least think about 12 marks. So at least you have more than 1 point in your mind to explain your questions, right? So once you prepare like that, you don't spend much time on thinking about your paper. You just go and start writing your paper, right? So you only have to spend 15 minutes on this question. So if you remember, we already have spent 23 minutes on our paper. So what you can do, add 15 minutes more. So now we are at 38 minutes. So last part we have section B. In section B, we have 6 marks, right? So 6 marks, the pattern is same as we have attempted over here. But if you see here, we have to provide only one argument to oppose this phenomena that have been asked in section A, right? So here you have to talk about one clear point. So in B, one clear point, and it should be a developed argument. It should be a developed argument. Argument can be peer group influence, let's say, peer group influence. So peer group influence, once you explain based on this point, you might get 3 marks. And once you will talk about, you will support your argument, let's say children from subcultures with beer which can strongly influence their gender identity. So once you will explain them in more detail, you will get again 3 marks. right? You might spend on this question 10 minutes. So add 10 minutes more. Now you can see that you have uh, around of 48 minutes. So in 48 minutes, first 2 minutes you might spend on thinking and align each and every question in your mind and just go and start write up. So remaining 40 minutes, we will spend 30 minutes in our section B that we will talk about in the coming videos, that how we can attempt any of the question from section B within a given time period that we have decided to invest on, that we have decided to spend on section B, right? So if you see what we did, we attempt question number one, we spend only 5 minutes. Question number two, part A, we spend 10 minutes. Question two, part B, we spend how much? We spend only 8 minutes. And then question number three, part A, we spend uh, 15 minutes, and section B of question number 3 we spend 10 minutes. So we have attempts our section A in 48 minutes, right? So in the coming videos we will attempt all of these questions one by one within our given time periods. Let's say question number 1, we will attempt these two example of social norm within 5 minutes. And then question number 2, explain two ways sociological research may be affected by bias. So we will explain this biasness within given time, which is 10 minutes. And then we will talk about one of its strengths and limitations of the unstructured interviews in 8 minutes. And then rest, as we discussed, that we have to spend this specific time and we will uh, attempt these question within a given time periods. So if you have any query, just comment below, I will respond you. Like and share this video, and don't forget to follow the coming videos.